We've spent over 10 years on air, shaping a generation of action motorsports, and now we're changing the game again. The best motorsports, the best action sports, and the best of pop culture with some epic guests thrown in. I am Jim Beaver, and this is the General Tire Jim Beaver Show with Good Times by Kawasaki. Hold on tight, the misadventure is just getting started. Welcome to the General Tire Jim Beaver Show with Good Times by Kawasaki. As most of you know, this past weekend, I was at the Whisky A Go-Go doing a little emceeing, something a little out of the box. It was honestly a huge bucket list for me. I mean, Whisky A Go-Go, talk about one of the most freaking iconic venues in the entire world when it comes to music. Places launched the careers of The Doors, Motley Crue, I mean, Kiss, Guns N' Roses, you name it, they played there. It's a bucket list for most musicians to play that stage. And me just going to the Whisky was amazing. But actually now being able to say I stood on stage, held a microphone, even if it was only for a couple of minutes, grand total emceeing, man, that is bucket list stuff for me. Just the fact that I've got a picture of me on stage with the Whisky logo in the background is pretty damn amazing. But speaking of amazing, it was an amazing night on Friday night. 5 amazing bands. Got to give a big shout out to my boy BC Vaught. If you missed his interview, go back a couple of them here in the podcast feed, and you're going to catch that one. I've also done, maybe it's time for one of my From the Vaults. I did one from his time with Head PE, and we talked about music for damn near an hour. But, digressing. So I was there at the Whisky, 5 amazing bands, one that absolutely blew me away. I've been a fan of theirs for a while now, but getting to see them play live was just next level. It's a band called Minor Struts, an alternative band, but they've got a young female singer named Coryn Cahill who absolutely blew the roof off of the place. Amazingly talented, and man, this girl's got some pipes for days. So met her, and just an amazing family, an amazing band. I decided I wanted to get her on the show this week. So she just got done playing the Whisky on Friday night, and we've got Coryn on the show this week. So, my guest this week, Coryn Cahill from Minor Strut. She's going to be coming up after the break. So, switching gears, doing a little music this week. I love it right here on the Jim Beaver Show. So thanks to all of you guys for tuning in. But before we go to a quick commercial break, I want to say I'm going to be throwing down at King of the Hammers for the next week. We've got a pre-show going to be dropping tomorrow. Then we've got 2 shows doing on-site with Kawasaki there at King of the Hammers, covering all the races, things like that, interviewing guests, teaming up with offroadracer.com and Matt Martelli. We're going to be doing those shows there. So if you're an off-road fan, man, be watching that RSS feed on my website, jimbeaver15.com, because, we're going to be bringing you full coverage from the 2023 King of the Hammers. So, yes, we're going to take a short commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to have Coryn right here on the General Tire Jim Beaver Show with Good Times by Kawasaki. Making the most of every moment can be demanding, which is why at General Tire, we think you should demand more from your tires. For more than a century, we've made great all-around tires that always deliver the right combination of performance, durability, style, and value. Whether you're looking at the ultra-high-performance summer tires for your street rod or the best-in-class all-weather tire for your family crossover, General Tire delivers for those who demand more from their tires. Find your fit at GeneralTire.com. General Tire, the official tire of the Jim Beaver Show.
Conditions off the pavement are always changing, so why settle for a light bar that just turns on and off? The Rigid Adapt is a revolutionary new light bar that will automatically select from 8 beam patterns that range from a widespread 90-degree flood to a 15-degree spot based on your vehicle's speed. Try that with your knockoff light bar. A dash-mounted controller allows the user to toggle between adaptive mode, beam patterns, and RGBW accent lighting. With Adapt, it's easier than ever to own the night.
Don't just shred your way through any off-road rugged terrain. Get into gear with GSP XTV and let us redefine your adventure. The GSP advantage of quality and performance sets a standard for UTV axles. We strive to provide premium ATV and UTV axles to keep you shreddy ready. Kick up some dirt and get in the driver's seat with GSP XTV. With over 35 years of experience, drive with a company you can trust. Drive with GSP. For more information, please visit us at gspxtv.com today. Like what you're hearing? Do us a favor and head over to Apple Podcasts and rate, review, and subscribe to the General Tire Jim Beaver Show with Good Times by Kawasaki and never miss another show. Welcome back to the General Tire Jim Beaver Show with Good Times by Kawasaki. I would like to welcome somebody I met this past weekend, Coryn from Minor Strut. Just got done playing the Whisky a Go-Go. What is happening, Coryn?
What's up, Jim?
Well, I don't know. I'm still recovering from this weekend, I think. I will say I was the idiot that went to the Whisky, did a emceeing, took in some amazing music, probably drank too much, got back to my hotel room at 2:30 in the morning, and then decided to go to Universal Studios at 9 a.m. So it was a long day for me on Saturday. Let's just put it that way.
That's awesome. This was like a ton of fun, too.
Yeah, it was. They got that new, the Nintendo, Super Nintendo World opened up. So, well, it's open, but they're not advertising that it's open. But it's pretty amazing if you're like a geek and into gaming like I am, because it's pretty next level.
Yeah. No, I've seen it. I'm really excited about it, actually.
Yeah. So enough with what I did, but anyways, let's talk a little bit about the Whisky, because you guys flat killed it. I mean, it was a big night. I would say it was, I don't know what sold out at the Whisky looks like, but there was a lot of people there. And I will say, I've been to the Whisky a few times at this point. One of my takeaways is normally the first band to go on stage, it's pretty much crickets. There's a lot of people still kind of coming in and out. People are aware of you guys because for an opening band, you guys, it was a packed house for Minor Strut. You guys flat slayed.
Oh, we loved it. The energy in the room was amazing. The people we talked to after were just awesome. It was a great community, a good lineup, great people.
Yeah, and I loved it, too, because there was a mix of metal, there was a mix of, a little bit of alternative. Like, it wasn't just all one genre. It was like a good mix across the board, and it was just like, I don't know, like that night, it was pretty magic at the Whisky, and I've been there a couple times now, and I got to say, that was probably the best crowd. Crowd was just hot all night. Like, it was pretty awesome. And I don't know, tell me about playing that venue, because I know this isn't the first time you played it, but that's got to be pretty damn special to play the Whisky.
The Whisky's been like in my heart for a minute, just because I loved playing there in high school, or like whenever I had a band going, we were like, okay, we got to hit the Whisky somehow, or find an opening slot, or try to make it out there, because it's always such a fun night. I love that stage, and the people and the environment every time is different, but it's always a good time. So I've always loved that stage. It's awesome.
Yeah, and that's one thing I love about the Whisky, like, because people have heard about it. It's iconic. I mean, there's so many amazing bands that have played on that stage, got their starts there. I mean, everybody from Kiss to Guns N' Roses, Motley Crue, The Doors. I mean, we're talking some of the biggest bands in the world. But it's like they don't know what to expect going in, and then they walk in, and it's like, well, this isn't what I expected, but it's not like it's a letdown. It's just different, and it's like the history, like, I love that they haven't changed the place. Obviously they've changed it a little.
It's the layout.
But it's the layout. It
totally
hasn't
the
changed.
Layout of the room.
Yeah, it's.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm just. It is. It's magic. It's you feel something special when you walk in there. If that makes sense,
Yeah. No, as soon as I went into there for the first time, it made me excited, not just for the main room, but the green room as well, how you can just walk straight over to the stairway. The whole process is cool because you get to connect with a lot of the crowd, and they get to ask questions and hang out after. You get to know who the people are and stuff.
Yeah, no, it's pretty awesome. Well, let's go back, because I know Minor Strut, we got a lot to talk about today, but I know Minor Strut's been around for quite a while. I believe predates you. How did you get tied in with Minor Strut?
Well, I actually grew up playing shows with them. I've been at a music studio called Rockstars of Tomorrow for a while now. I started there when I was about, I'd say, 10 years old when I moved over to Norco. But we were just playing shows a lot of the time. They began their band in 2014. When we were all little kiddos and stuff. So we've kind of just grown up around each other, and then things started working out once I left my last band and saw they needed a singer, and we went, okay, let's do this. It was a vibe.
Yeah. Well, I feel like I don't know. To me, it's like anybody that has seen you guys play or listened to your music that you guys are putting out. I mean, it just meshes well. It's like, to me, you were the fit that the band always needed, if that makes sense. And I just feel like it seems like anybody that knows or has listened to some of their older stuff goes, it's just, I don't know, you're the fit. It's like Minor Strut has been around for a long time, but, you know, once you got involved, it's like it shifted the whole dynamic in such a positive way.
That's awesome. For me personally, it really makes me happy to hear that, because the boys have said it feels like a different era in the way where we all feel compelled towards each other with chemistry and writing and going to shows. It's been a really good time. So it's good to hear that on the other end too, from the crowd or from people watching. That's good.
Yeah. Well, and it seems like you and the guys, you all get along great. It's like you have a good time. It's not like you leave and it's like all of a sudden you guys don't talk to each other. It's like you guys thoroughly enjoy being around each other.
Yeah, no, they're legit people. So it's really good for whenever we need to figure things out and learn together. We work together as a team for sure.
Well, let's talk a little bit about music in like LA, because I know at one point, especially, you know, Sunset Strip, you know, at one point that was where if you wanted to make it as a musician, that's where you went, you know, and obviously you're still playing the Whisky. I know you're playing Hotel Ziggy here, which is I love that hotel. You're playing them here in March, but I feel like, you know, somebody like you is trying to make it in SoCal in music. You guys are starting to blow up. I mean, how special is the Sunset Strip still to careers, you know what I mean, and things like that? And how tough is it to make it in LA, because there's so many great music acts and bands and things like that trying to break through?
That's such a good question. I just saw Dave Grohl discussing this with how much the music industry has kind of changed and melded over the couple years, especially over COVID. And I would say it's as hard as you make it, honestly. Putting in the work and the time is a big factor as well. Just having the chemistry to work together as people, I would say, and just the type of musicality that people prefer is another aspect. But I just say those shows and those live shows are still very crucial. Depending on the person, you could develop like bedroom pop music and stuff and write stuff from home. But I think playing a live show is still super crucial, like Dave Grohl said, because it shows who you are. It just exposes as genuine as possible what you want to do, you know? It's a good time always.
Well, and I feel like, you know, because I've, you know, obviously I've got a radio show and things like that, and then I do a lot of stuff in the real world. And, you know, music, not necessarily music. Mine's mostly tied to motorsports. Friday night was an anomaly for me in such a good way, just mutual friends and things like that. But you know, it's weird because you create this thing online and people, you know, a lot of people hear your music online, things like that. And it's like, oh, they're awesome. They become a fan, but it's like they get that attachment. You know what I mean? That real attachment when they see you live, they get a chance to meet you, see you in the flesh, you know, and it's something that social media or Apple Music or Spotify or whatever, you know, they can't create that, you know, but it's like seeing somebody, you know, breathing in front of you. Like, to me, that's where, you know, you go from being, you know, somebody that likes something to a fan of something, you know?
Of course, it's a human reaction, you know, it's being compelled to interact with people, and being in communities is a huge part of that. Any community that is like that is always great for anyone. So I agree with that. Whenever I go to concerts, I feel that way.
Yeah. You know, well, it's just
for
like,
sure.
It's like how many friends, especially during COVID, you know, or how many people like on social media. You have a lot of people and you can't quite call them friends, but you may converse with them on social media, things like that. But until you actually meet them in the flesh, it's like you can't really call them a friend. And once you meet them, it's like, oh, they're my friend now, you know, even though we've been talking for 18 months on social media or whatever, you know, just this weird world we live in now.
Yeah, that's very true. Sometimes it's hard to navigate that. I think in person definitely is always preferable because you can actually connect in that way. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. But I mean, you know, and how important, like, you know, it is funny to talk about Dave Grohl, an absolute legend, you know what I mean? But how hard is it now? Because I mean, social media and Minor Strut, you guys have started to build, you know, pretty good following on social media, but how important is social media now and YouTube and things like that to a musician? Because I mean, I just laugh because growing up, I mean, you'd hear stories about And I'm just 42, but it's like you'd hear stories about people and their tapes and taking them all to radio stations and trying to get them played and things like that. But I feel like, it's a complete different approach to the music industry. Yeah, we've got the live shows you and I've talked about. We know those are important, but I feel like social media and things like that, man, it's got to be tough developing that following and getting people to go and watch your videos, download your music, right?
Yeah, it's definitely the new form of exposure, kind of in the way that taking a tape to the radio was. A lot of people look towards the radio for new music just as much as YouTube or TikTok. A lot of my favorite creators came from watching their redecorating my room videos and releasing a new song and showing their personality and connecting with people in the way that you would as a person just passing by, learning about their life, their skill set, how, like, just songs, even just listening to songs, even if they're not a YouTuber or a creator, someone that just posts what they do. Sometimes people, I didn't have accessibility to shows during COVID as much as I used to. So being able to experience that feeling from home was a large advantage. It's accessibility. So output is very important for sure when it comes to media, just as much as live shows, because it does, in a sense, that same type of exposure.
So I've got a question, and you guys can do some amazing covers, but you guys also write your own music, and to me, that's one thing that's always blown my mind, and I have the utmost respect for musicians who can write their own music, produce their own music. How does that process work with you and the band? Because to me, that I love to hear everybody's process and their creative, the creative flow that they have, because, like, to me, to be able to write music and get everything to gel where it turns into a song is just an amazing process. And I know every musician approaches it in a different way.
Yeah, that's a good question. The way that we usually start with our writing is, at the moment, we're just beginning with rhythm, songs, or ideas or melodies that the boys have brought in to the garage and stuff. And then we run over them. They pick variations of melodies that we like. Sometimes we outsource, like our instructor from our studio, Michael. He was awesome whenever we needed a hand if we were stuck in a rut. But he's been awesome. But we've been mostly just trying to get ideas, get different versions, switch them out. And once the music part of everything feels tight, I'm normally mumbling along rhythm sets, whether it could turn into like a bass part or lyrics. We kind of figure that out as the time goes. And then once the rhythm half of like the vocals pop in, like, oh, I have this good melody, I think this is how it should belong. That's when I usually take it home and try to formulate, okay, what should this mean? What does the sound bring to my head? And what emotion would I want to have people invoked whenever I'm hearing it? So if it's a sad song, if it's super happy, but I could make it an angry song, just something that would be appealing to my ear. And then I step away a lot too. So then I get other ideas and then just pick the one that feels in my gut real. Sometimes it's immediate and sometimes it's like, oh, I'm going to put this down. Like Arthritis, we had a song that took a minute for us to write, and stepping away was a big key in revisiting it and seeing it in a new eye. We were writing that thing for months and we were like, we're stuck. So yeah, it's a really fun process.
Yeah. And that's one thing, like, I know with me and just with, it's funny because I do a weekly show and I've been doing it for 11, 12 years and it's a couple hours, and some shows I go and I have zero notes and I just go in and I got something on my mind and I need to say it and 2 hours just flies by. And then other times it's like, it's a struggle to do 5 minutes, to do 10 minutes, and it's the same thing with interviews. Sometimes you have a guest and, and it's like, man, you do 5 minutes. I'm like, man, this is supposed to be 20 or 30 minutes. How am I going to find another 15, 20 minutes out of this? And then other times an hour and a half goes by and I'm still talking with the same person. So it is funny how that works. But I figured it was like that. You guys got some music, you just roll out. You guys are like, man, that was quick. We knocked it out, and you had something to say and everybody was just in sync and mind's working and bam, it's there on paper and and recorded and and other times, like you said, I'm sure it's just months go by and you're like, are we ever going to finish this song? Is there an end in sight?
Yeah, that was totally a question with some songs in the past before. Sometimes they're super immediate And that's a cool comparison too with discussing with people in interviews or working your job. There must be days where it's immediate because you have a motive, an idea of this is how I feel today. And this is what I want to express on the radio. That's how I feel with songs sometimes. I hear a sound and I'm like, this is about this. This is this. This verse is going to be about this. Like, it's so set out in my brain. And then sometimes it's like, no, I need a different context. I need to go get a coffee or drink or something, like a water. I need to take a break and walk away from it.
Yeah,
not a drink. I'm 20.
Oh, good catch there.
Stepping away for a moment.
Oh, I will say, I gotta say, it's funny. It's a small world because I had no idea I actually knew your dad until I knew your dad. But he's standing there and he's absolutely like enthralled with you guys on stage. And he looks at me and he goes, "Man, this is so much better than being a soccer dad." And I just laughed. I was like, "High five, man!" Like, that was his line, and I'm like, "Dude, that is the greatest line ever. This is so much better than being a soccer dad." It was like after you guys just killed it on one of the songs, and he turns to me and that was his line, and I'm like, "Yeah, high five, Dad. You are right there."
It makes me more than happy that my family and our families as a band love supporting us, because we are very lucky to have that sense of community of, oh, I can high five my dad after this show. Their support has absolutely been a key factor in transforming this band, because I wouldn't know how to deal with scheduling my first pay to play without going to my dad and asking, hey, can you support me on this? You know, we have graphic designers and photographers as parents. That is definitely something that is very beneficial to us. We're super grateful to even have them as a process, and loving that we like doing this. You know, it builds a lot of motive for us.
Yeah, and I just thought it was awesome. Your dad's there, and he's in the Minor Strut T-shirt, and he's just literally so into it. I'm like, how awesome is that? And I am fortunate, like in my racing career, same thing. I grew up with a dad who raced, things like that, and he was super supportive of me, always there, you know what I mean? Had my back. As soon as I got out of the race car, just high-fiving, and, you know, or if there's something went wrong, you know what I mean? I had a confidant there, you know what I mean? Like, hey, let's talk through it. What happened? You know, and things like that, you know? So that's awesome, and I know a lot of people don't have that, but it's great to see that support. And I just, like, that was one of my takeaways from the show. I was like, man, I know who your biggest fan is, you know what I mean? He was standing there with his shirt on, and that's awesome to see.
Mm-hmm. They're real with us for sure. I love their support. The whole band does. It's always a good time seeing your family after a show and being able to give them a hug. My grandpa, they go to all these shows all the time. They love supporting us. All of our families do. It's so cool.
Yeah. So I know you've got some upcoming dates. Obviously, you just played the Whisky, which is an iconic one. You know, I know you're playing Hotel Ziggy. I wanted to talk about that because I absolutely love that. Have you spent any time there? Have you been to that hotel yet?
No, I haven't actually. I'm really excited about it. And the locker room coming up in Orange County. We've got a lot of interesting venues that I haven't really been to yet with the rest of the bands. It'll be cool.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. And I mean, is it started? Do you guys feel like, I mean, you know, word's starting to get out on you guys, and you're starting to take a few more calls for things, or, you know, obviously I'm sure you're still having to hustle for a lot, but you feel like things are starting to make the turn where people are actually wanting you guys to show up and play?
We're getting a lot of offers for ideas from different bands and communities. Like, I love doing a lot of punk shows in El Monte. It was so much fun. And then coming down over to Orange County, having lots of shows with like TA85. There's lots of bands that want to form a sense of community and get stuff done. I think that's what's helped us with our growth. It's connecting as people and playing different shows. So we have seen a big benefit in that. More people want to do fun stuff and make it a good night, you know? So I think that's the key to getting more output, just connecting with your community and finding something to agree with. You know, a fun show, good lyrics, hopefully good lyrics. Yeah.
Well, I think that's one of the cool things, you know, that I just discovered through you about music is, you know, I come from an industry where it's very cutthroat. And I'm not that way, but there's a lot of people there, and they don't want to help somebody else out because they feel like it's going to be taking something away from themselves. And I've always been sure enough in myself where it's like, no, I'll help people up, because if you do something well, you don't have to worry. You know what I mean? You'll still have, you know, support. And you saying that about music makes me happy, because it's like these other bands aren't looking, oh, well, we've got a good in or a good idea, but we're sure not going to share it with Minor Strut because that might give them a step up, and we don't want them taking something away from us, and for you to say that, you've got other bands helping you, supporting you, giving you ideas, things like that. To me, that's freaking awesome because there's so many industries where that doesn't happen.
And honestly, I don't think it should be expected from everyone because everyone has their own self-process. Those people are still very successful. And you don't always have to make a compromise just to listen. I think that's one of the best things you can do for any musician. I also can quote one more person on that. That was Lizzie Hale. She's doing a lot of great stuff for Music Youth right now. And she said that the best thing you can do to support any type of musician in the music world, it doesn't matter what you have in your pants. It's just about sitting down and listening.
That's awesome. So, before we wrap things up, you said, obviously you've got some pretty cool events coming up. I mean, give us a lowdown on what you guys have, where you're playing, so anybody tuning in might want to come out and watch, and I guess where they can find out more information, and more importantly, get a hold of some of your music.
Yeah, if anybody's interested in checking out our stuff or more of what we're about, our music, we have a show coming up February 18th at the Locker Room in Orange County. And then if you're just kind of trying to find out what our music sounds like or what we're really doing, we have all of our stuff out on media. Our music is released. You just research minor, like a minor chord, Strut. And that would be where all of our stuff's at. Our updated shows, our music. And yeah, that's pretty much it. We also have that Ziggy show and other dates listed on our Linktree whenever anyone would like to check out where those locations are at, what times, because we have a lot of stuff coming up. But our next show is Locker Room, Orange County, February 18th on a Saturday.
So you play the Whisky, you've got the Locker Room coming up, you got a couple weeks in between. What does a normal day or a normal week look like for you?
Well, for me personally, it's usually either I just registered for college, so I've got more classes coming up, like hybrid in person. That's what a lot of us are doing right now. We're trying to get our college work done as well as performing. So we have our own jobs and stuff. I'm usually teaching music, like my drummer, Aiden. It's just working by day, and then when we get off, we go, hey, band practice. What do we got to do? What do we want to do? And then we just get stuff done.
It's like you work your butt off doing college, practice, everything else, job. It's like when you finally get on stage, to me, it's like when I get behind the wheel of a race car or something like that. It's like I get that release. It's like, all right, now I can just shut my brain off and do what I enjoy and I want to do and I love doing. And it's such a release because it's like you just get to escape for a couple hours. You know what I mean? It's just there's that escape where nothing matters. Your brain shuts off and you just get to feel, and that's what I love about racing cars. Yeah. And I got to think you getting on stage is probably pretty much the same.
No, definitely. I think everyone has their own version of that. And I think as a singer, my goal usually is try to bring that to the room, whether it's bringing that to the band, trying to reflect that energy whenever we're working together. If I can do that with the whole crowd and communicate, hey, let's have a good night, say some stuff like that. That's usually what I enjoy doing because then people can get that sense of, okay, I get to relax and have my moment, whether it's in a car or at a concert. People deserve that, a moment away. It's like Nirvana. It's the meaning of their name. It's cool.
And I will say this is something, and I've between MCs and musicians, things like that, I've seen a lot. But one thing that impressed me about you, and I truly mean this, was when you were on stage, your stage presence and your crowd control. And I hate using that word because it sounds bad, but your presence and the way you interacted with the crowd. That's something you either have or you don't have, and it's not something that's taught, but you had it, and that was pretty amazing to see the interaction and how when you talked, they felt what you were saying, and I truly mean that. Like, it was pretty remarkable, and that was one of the first things before you even started playing music. I was like, man, this girl, she has a connection with a crowd.
Yeah, as long as I can bring that emotion to people and connect them further to our music or any opinions that they might be agreeing with, whether they want to have a good night or just a moment of relaxation from anxieties about work or daily life. It makes me happy to be able to hear that because I enjoy that process going to concerts myself. Yeah. So it makes me very happy.
Well, it has been fun catching up. We got to cut to a break, but honestly, wish you guys all the best and everything you've got, your upcoming shows. We'll definitely, when this hits online, we'll get all the links shared and stuff like that on our website and in the podcast notes, stuff like that, so they can go and check you guys out and check some of your music out. But I appreciate you taking the time, Coryn.
Awesome. Thanks, man. It's great talking to you.
And don't go anywhere because we still got more to come right here on the General Tire Jim Beaver Show with Good Times by Kawasaki. When it's time to replace the tires on your vehicle, General Tire delivers the tires you need for both your next big adventure and your daily commute. Whether you need all-season traction, lasting tread wear, or a quiet drive, General Tires are designed to deliver whatever life brings your way. From all-season ultra-high-performance tires for passenger cars and crossovers to extreme all-season mud terrain and tires for light trucks and SUVs, General Tire delivers great performance. To find your ideal tire, visit GeneralTire.com. General Tire, official tire of the Jim Beaver Show. When looking for a new wheel for your off-road vehicle, car, truck, or UTV, the choice is easy. You choose what the pros use. Rob McCachran, Keegan Kincaid, and myself, Jim Beaver, all exclusively use Vision Wheel, whether we're dominating Baja, taking the cup at Crandon, or shredding UTVs. Vision Wheel's trend-setting designs and durability will set you apart from the competition and your friends. Check out visionwheel.com or @visionwheel on social media to learn more. Looking to have some fun on four wheels? Dirtfish Rally School has you covered. Packing as much adrenaline and adventure as you can handle into high-performance all-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive Subaru rally cars is where the fun begins at Dirtfish. Just 30 minutes outside of Seattle and Snoqualmie, you'll get a chance to train up to 3 full days with some of the country's best instructors and be put through the high-octane rush of rally on mud, dirt, and tarmac. Get started today and call 425-888-7715 or visit us online at dirtfish.com and use code 911 for a 15% discount.
Life is all about sound. The sound of sports, the sound at the racetrack, and the sound of your vehicle. Don't drive around listening to this. Drive around listening to the sound of performance. Gibson Performance. Gibson Performance Exhaust is the company who can turn this into this. Remember that life is all about sound, and Gibson Exhaust is the sound of performance. Check out your next catback exhaust system, headers, muffler, or UTV exhaust at GibsonPerformance.com and get more power and more sound.
Social media? Yeah, that's on lock. It's at Jim Beaver 15 on all major platforms, and hit up at General Tire and at Kawasaki USA while you're there. And welcome back here to the General Tire Jim Beaver Show with Good Times by Kawasaki. Big thanks to Coryn Cahill of Minor Strut for taking the time to come on the show. You can check out their music, Coryn's social, Minor Strut's info, all that down in the footnotes of the show. If you're listening on the website, Apple Podcasts, one of those other places you're listening nationally, well, man, you're going to have to go to the website, find it out. But, yeah, big thanks to Coryn. Man, they slayed the Whisky. If you get a chance to see them play one of their upcoming shows, make sure and do it, man. Those kids just absolutely slayed the Whisky, and so stoked to be able to take it in live. So, yeah, I think you're definitely going to enjoy the concert. But, yeah, coming up, like I said earlier in the show, going to be out at King of the Hammers. We got a pre-show dropping tomorrow. We got a couple of shows dropping on-site live from King of the Hammers. So definitely you want to take those all in and check them out. Head over to Apple Podcasts, hit the subscribe button, rate, review, all that stuff. But, yeah, subscribe if you want to make sure and not miss anything when it comes to King of the Hammers. We're going to have you on lock also at JimBeaver15.com. Big thanks to all our partners, General Tire, Kawasaki, Vision Wheel, Dirtfish, Rigid Industries, GSP XTV Axles, Gibson Exhaust, iRacing, Clean Freaks, Clean Freak, all the companies that keep us in business here. Man, thank you guys. Thank you so very much. But yeah, I am going to sign off for this week because I got to get the RV ready because I am headed out to King of the Hammers for the biggest, baddest off-road race on the planet. So definitely follow along at Jim Beaver 15 if you want to see my misadventures coming up out there at Hammertown. So, all right, see you next time. Next time you hear me, yeah, I'll be out at King of the Hammers. See you then. And that's a wrap for this edition of the General Tire Jim Beaver Show with Good Times by Kawasaki. Thanks for listening. Be sure and head to Apple Podcasts, subscribe to the show, and follow at Jim Beaver 15, at General Tire, and at Kawasaki USA on social media. Itching for more? JimBeaver15.com has all the latest. We'll see you next time.